My name's Ryan, and you're watching That Random Geeky Guy. So hey everyone, thank you very much for tuning in for this video. I hope everybody is all safe and taking care out there at the moment. As the title suggests, this is my personal rig update for 2021. Throughout 2020, I did a lot of things to my personal rig, a lot of upgrades. I'm sure you guys are all used to it out there. But there was some calls for me to share it with you guys, so I wanted to do just that. As part of this video, I'm going to give you a tour around my setup, and I'm using the DJI Pocket 2 as my camera. It's like a camera gimbal that you may have seen me unbox recently in my New Year's unboxing. If you've got any comments at all about any of the parts or the video itself, make sure you stick it in the comments section below. Without further ado, let's get into it. So we're starting with the panel, the screen. So this is an Acer Nitro. I'll get the model number in just a second because it's quite a long one. It always seems to be the case with computer monitors. It's like they sit around a boardroom table and go, what's the longest model number we can think of? Anyway, this is an Acer Nitro. I bought it towards the end of August 2020. It's a 1440p IPS panel running at 144 Hz. It's really, really rich colors. They look fantastic. It's got a 1 millisecond response time. Honestly, absolutely brilliant monitor. I had a BenQ Zowie before, which was 144 Hz, 1080p, 24-inch. This is 27. The BenQ was fantastic for the money, but this is absolutely incredible. Definitely happy that I purchased this one. As with all the products I'm talking about today, if I can, they'll be listed in the video description for you to go and check them out. I will say in advance, this is quite a popular panel. As a result, as with a lot of other things at the moment in this sector, they're out of stock. But I'll still put the link in anyway, just in case that reality does change. The design is really nice. So fairly thin bezels around the outside. You've got two forward-facing feet here with some blue accents on top, which fit quite well with the colour scheme. And yeah, it is really good. I find the reproduction's fantastic, and the rig that's pushing it does mean that we are maximizing what we're getting from that as a monitor. Next up, let's talk about the keyboard. So no change here from the last video I did about my rig. I'm still using the Corsair K65 Alu-X. This has got red Cherry MX switches. Really, really nice to use. As a result, it hasn't changed. This is my keyboard of choice. I continue to use it. You'll see it's 10 keyless. And again, it's because I'm restricted by space. My most recent tour of the man cave will give you an example of why we're being careful with space here. But as a keyboard, like I say, it's other than being a bit grubby, it's lovely. It's a real pleasure to type on, and it's just generally a great experience. Moving over to the right, we've got my mouse, which is a Razer Basilisk version 2. Many people would say that this is a G502 ripoff, and actually, to an extent, I'd agree with them. From a design perspective, it looks very, very, very similar. But it is a great mouse. It's a great weight, and a good array of programmable buttons. It's got 1000 Hertz refresh rate, which is good. And like I say, definitely something I'd recommend. It's got a bit of an odd cable. So the cable is a loosely fitting braided cable. The idea is that it creates less snags. I'm not sure how much I buy into that, but as a whole, it's still a great product. The mouse mat, it actually works quite well with the colour theme of the computer and works quite well with the desktop wallpaper, with an RGB strip all the way around the outside, which is controlled by a light box here over on the left. To be perfectly honest with you, these are much of a muchness. You can pick up a decent RGB large mouse mat for £15 to £20 from Amazon. Again, I'll link this one in the video description. Only thing I don't really like about it is the threading over the side is a little bit coarse. Just try and get that to focus. There we go. The threading over the side is a little bit coarse, and you can kind of feel it on your forearm sometimes. But other than that, it serves a purpose. It's a large mouse mat, and it's good, and it fits with the theme. Now, tucked behind the monitor here, again, because of restrictions of space, there is the headset. Again, no massive change with the headset here since it was reviewed. So this is a Razer Kraken Tournament Edition. So it actually has a small little USB control box, which is installed here on the front of my custom desk. And yeah, it's a good value headset. Now, the reason I say that is that it isn't the most expensive thing in the world. Normally on sale, you can actually get it for under £70, sometimes as low as 50. And in my opinion, for that price, it's a great headset. They think of some clever things along the lines of a retractable microphone, as well as indent into the ear cuffs for glasses wearers like myself. And it's also got a cooling gel. So yeah, it works really well. Moving up next, we have got the little custom stats display. Again, we've had a video on this previously. This stats display has slightly modified since that video, but for those of you out there who are looking to try and do this, it's actually something that's very, very simple. Just by obtaining a small HDMI monitor, the sort of thing that you'd use with a Raspberry Pi, and connecting it to a different output from your graphics card and setting it up as a second monitor, you can achieve this. The big difference between this and the video for this product is that I've switched away from NZXT Cam, which I found was quite buggy, and I've switched to Ada 64, which you can customize significantly. So you can see you've got my, shall we say, ugly mug on there, as well as the hashtag tagline. But we've got CPU clock speed, we've got GPU clock speed, RAM usage, AIO pump speeds, CPU temps, GPU temps, and the AIO fan speed. It's all set fairly low at the minute because it's not under any form of load. But yeah, these things are awesome, and it's great about creating your own kind of custom setup. Some people install them actually into the case itself, and this actually does, if you excuse the light of the side panel, this does have the great ability of attaching things at the back there. You'll see those vertical strips designed actually for water cooling, but you could mount one of these monitors back there. Many people do put them inside their case, but I chose to go with this external view. Now, before we move on to the actual PC itself, which is sat inside this Fractal Design Meshify S2 case, I'm actually going to take the side panel off so that you can kind of see more what's going in there. But let's just talk about everything that's sat around it. So you'll know from previous videos, I'm a big comic book collector. Well, I say big, it's more kind of variant covers, and a huge Lego collector. So there's loads of Lego sat all around this, and there's also a Saturn V rocket sat to the right. Anyway, let's get this side panel off, and I will be back right with you. Okay, so we're back, and now we get into the real nitty-gritty. This is my actual rig itself. So let's start with the glaringly obvious thing right in the middle, which is the GPU. So the GPU is a Gigabyte Vision RTX 3070. I was very, very lucky to get hold of one of these at MSRP, and again, I'm not naive to the fact that I am lucky. It is a really challenging environment out there. This video isn't designed to be a flex. It's not designed to just annoy people because of the lack of availability of some of these parts. I do recognize that I've been very lucky to get them. It is sat on this GPU bracket, which has got RGB in it. There is a fair bit of RGB in the system for those haters out there. It might be an ideal to turn over right now because you're going to see a lot of RGB. This will be linked in the video description. I think it's a great GPU SAG bracket. It looks nice. It adds great aesthetics to the builds, and actually works with Asus Aura and off the normal 5-volt headers on the board. Anyway, let's kind of pull back. You'll notice that the RTX 3070 is plugged in with a custom cable kit. Again, you'll find a link to that in the video description. This is what they call more of a plasticky nylon kind of cover rather than paracord. It has its benefits in that it's a little bit easier to kind of shape and train, as some people say. Yes, I'm not naive to the fact that it's not the cleanest in there at the minute, but that's just kind of a reality. That's where it's at the moment. This is all sat on top of an Asus ROG Strix X570F gaming motherboards. Now, I upgraded last year from a B450, so the Asus Strix B450. My reason for the upgrade is to prepare for the processor that you see in here. And actually, beyond that, the previous board was fantastic and something I'm happy to recommend. But again, this is great. The 3070 was actually quite a journey. I started the year with a 1660 Ti. Partway through the year, I went to a 2070 Super. And then I say recently I was lucky to obtain a 3070. Moving on up, underneath that AIO, we have got a Ryzen 9 5950X. So yeah, quite a substantial processor. The journey again has been quite an extreme one. So I went from a 4th generation i5 quad core processor at the start of 2020, an old processor that just put together in a rig. I then went to a Ryzen 5 3600, which was an absolutely incredible processor, great bang for buck, and I think it's for a lot of people with a set budget, it's kind of a go-to processor, even with the new generation that's come out specifically because of availability. But again, I was lucky towards the end of the year and managed to obtain a 5950X, and that is what sat underneath the AIO there. So we've got 16 cores and 32 threads of Ryzen 5000 goodness, or Zen 3, and yeah, an absolutely incredible product. To the right of that, we've got our Corsair Vengeance RGB 32GB RAM kit, obviously over 4 8GB DIMMs. So 3200 megahertz with CL16, perfect to accompany that 5950X. Many would say goes 3600 megahertz, but 32 is working perfectly fine for what I use it for. Now, what do I use it for? Primarily, my build centers around a bit of gaming, and as well as content creation and other stuff for work, which I won't bore you with. But essentially, that's what this rig is used for, which is why you'll notice that it's quite processor heavy, and it's essentially for those workloads. And it's a fantastic mix, specifically for what it is that I want to try and do. That AIO is a recent addition. So this is, again, from ASUS. It's an ASUS ROG ALCI 360. But it has got Corsair fans on it rather than the ones that come with the AIO to go in with the color theme. And again, you've got RGB in the pump header, which works with the normal sync software. This, again, quite a replacement. So we started the year with just a 4th gen i5, like I mentioned before. And from a cooling perspective, that was just sat under a small Be Quiet air cooler. I then switched up to the Ryzen 5 3600. To begin with, we just used the RGB Wraith cooler that came with it, which actually is a really good cooler, especially for one that is included. I happened to get the RGB version included when I purchased it from Scan in the UK. And then I went for that to upgrade into a Be Quiet Dark Rock 4, again a air cooler. When some overclocking was taking place on that 3600, switched across to a Corsair H100 AIO, and then when I went to this 5950X, I went up to from that 240mm AIO to this 360mm, which you see sat in the top of the rig here. All of the fans that you see here are from Corsair. So we've got the Corsair maglev fans in the back. In the front here, if we can just kind of pull around, I don't know how well you're going to see it, but we've got 3 light loop ones that you can see straight through the front of this Fractal Design Meshify S2 case. So in total there, we've got 7 fans, but in the bottom, again, I don't know quite how well you're going to see this, but there is 2 140mm fans drawing additional air from the bottom. The whole point of this was to create a high airflow case, and as a result, the temps are really good, as you probably saw on the screen earlier in the video. Power-wise, hidden behind this shroud here is a Seasonic Focus Gold, or 80 plus Gold, 650 watt PSU, which works perfectly with the equipment that's in there. Everything can run under full load. This system's on 24 hours a day and has no challenges whatsoever. A really good quality PSU. And somebody actually asked a question recently in one of the forums about kind of the best PSUs, and the general feeling amongst everybody was Seasonic was definitely up there and one to consider. And then in terms of storage, we've got a lot of storage in here. So hidden down behind under here is one of the M.2 covers. Under that M.2 cover is a Crucial 500GB NVMe. That is used as an editing drive for videos. Up above this 3070, there's another plate which is covering our boot drive, which is a Samsung 970 Evo Plus. Which is again an NVMe drive, and that's just our boot drive. And then in the back, behind all of this, one of the great things about this case is it's got significant storage. Down the right-hand side, we've got 3 4TB Toshiba 7200 RPM drives, which is just used for Plex storage. And then behind the actual motherboard tray is a 2.5-inch SSD, again from Crucial, which is a a 1 terabyte drive, 1 gig, that'd be useful. 1 terabyte drive, which is for my games library. And that's kind of the build and the setup of the PC itself. Beyond what you're seeing here, the other things that kind of run my network is, or my setup is, I do have a mesh Wi-Fi. I have gigabit internet connection. All of this works really, really well. You guys already know that underneath my rig, I've got another PC sat down underneath the table, which is a guest PC. You won't see it very well because of the lighting. There is a guest PC, which you can have to look back on recent videos to kind of see what that's all about. And then work-wise, because I don't really stream, up on top here, we've also got a Logitech C920, I think it is, C920 webcam, which is great quality, but again, very difficult to get a hold of in this age that we're living in. Well, there you have it. That is my rig update for 2021. I'm really happy with where it's kind of ended up. I also would like to note that I do a lot of videos around budget builds. I'm under no illusion my personal rig would, in most people's eyes, not be seen as a budget build. I'm lucky enough to kind of be in the position I am now and having the rig that I have, but I've gone through, as discussed in the video, quite a transitional period, especially over the last 12 months. And I think a lot of people, their focus has certainly changed over the last 12 months. You only have to look at some of the Steam statistics and other bits and pieces that are coming out to see how much gaming has exploded in the last 12 months. 2020 was a big year for those sort of things for obvious reasons. You know, people were restricted upon what they could do, and gaming was probably a great place to turn to in terms of entertainment, in terms of getting out frustration. It worked well. And actually, I think as the start of 2021 carries on, we're going to see a lot of that this year as well. Like I said before, guys, if you've got any questions about anything in the video, please stick it in that comment section below. Naturally, I look forward to any comments you've got. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you dislike it. Please head on over to thatrandomgeekyguy.com, pick up a Founder Edition t-shirt. Massively supports the channel. Other than that, guys, I shall see you in the next video.